Okay, y'all. Hopefully you just viewed the prepositional phrase lesson. Now we're going to take notes again. And again, if you were here the Friday before break, I went over all of these, but I went over it quickly and we were all a bit disoriented from the news of school closing for a while. So in this video, I'm going to go over gerund phrases. So in the last video, I did a recap that we are learning about phrases, which is a group of words that does not have a subject and a verb, but it does act as one part of speech in a sentence, either a noun, an adjective, or an adverb. So after prepositional phrases, our next three types of phrases are all verbal phrases, okay? Verbals or verbal phrases, okay? So the second type of phrase is the gerund. The third type is a participial, which is built from a participle, okay? Participial. And fourth, the infinitive, okay? But in the next couple videos, I'll look at participial and infinitive. Right now, we are just looking at the gerund. Okay, so this does not, I'm going to do number one up here as the prepositional phrase because I want this to start numbering. Okay, so of our verbal phrases, we are looking at the gerund and the gerund phrase. So a gerund is a word that looks like a verb but does not act as a verb in the sentence, and it always ends in ing. Okay, so a gerund phrase, if that's the case, if a gerund is a word that looks like a verb but does not act as a verb and always ends in ing and always acts as a noun, then that's true for the gerund phrase as well. So the gerund phrase always begins with a gerund, which is an ing word, okay, and always acts as a noun. So, skiing down the hill, dancing in the street, eating. Okay, so notice that would just be a one-word gerund instead of an entire gerund phrase. Okay, now it is easy to know what a gerund phrase is acting as because it's always acting as a noun. If that's where we were stopping, gerunds would be incredibly easy. What makes them a bit more complicated is that we're asking you to also know which noun position the gerund is in. Okay, can play 4 different noun positions in a sentence. Sorry for the typos. First, the subject. Okay, so I'm going to use the same gerund phrase 4 times in 4 different noun positions to show you how it moves around in a sentence. Dancing in the street is fun. So here's our gerund phrase, dancing in the street. It is a noun. Not only is it a noun, but it's the subject. What is fun? Dancing in the street. Okay, so because they are nouns, gerunds will always answer the question what. And so it's like filling in the blank of what. What is fun? Dancing in the street. Okay, now let's do a direct object. Okay, so if a subject answers what before the verb, a direct object answers what immediately after an action verb. Okay, so here's an example. I like dancing in the street. Here's my same exact gerund phrase, and it follows an action verb. It answers the question what right after the action verb like. I like what? Dancing in the street. Okay, now I want to move it to the spot of a predicate nominative. This is very similar to the direct object, but it answers the question what immediately after a linking verb, like is. Okay, so be verbs or a since verb. So an example would be, my favorite activity is what? Dancing in the street. So here's my gerund phrase, the same exact gerund phrase, but this time it doesn't follow an action verb. It follows a linking verb, and it answers the question what? My favorite activity is what? Dancing in the street. That's a predicate nominative. And finally, the last of the noun positions that you'll see a gerund playing is the object of a preposition. Object of a preposition. So that means it's going to answer what immediately after a preposition. So these are very easy to identify because they follow a preposition immediately, okay? So we thought about dancing in the street. Here's my same exact gerund phrase, but this time it immediately follows the preposition about. We thought about what? Dancing in the street. Okay, so here you have a gerund as the subject, a gerund as the direct object, a gerund as the predicate nominative, and a gerund as the object of the preposition. Go ahead and make sure you have practiced those on your gerund worksheet in the packet. Check your answers. I posted the answer key on Campus Web Handouts, and go ahead and do the online quizzes to practice finding gerunds and what position they're playing.